Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, healthcare to skyrocket. Also, Doug Jones kicks off his gubernatorial campaign. And could there be a shakeup in the U.S. Senate race?
What is it?
The stuff that dreams are made of.
Well, it's very possible. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, the man, the myth, the legend, and also investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome.
How are y'all?
Great. You know, it's not as easy to come up with those every week as it used to be.
Well, listen, but the money's worth it. So, you know.
Well, that's true.
$67.50 every week,
That's right.
man. I'm doing good.
That's right.
Hey, you know, and I know that I'm excited about the governor's race.
I'm too,
I'm
finally.
really excited about it. And Doug Jones did his kickoff Friday night in Birmingham. He had Jason Isbell and DJ Slim Rob.
Mhm.
And man, talk about excitement. Now, I know that my Republican friends and all that want to call Doug a communist and a liberal and this and that and the other ignorant stuff, you know, but he really talked about kitchen table issues, the things that matter to people, Susan.
He did. You know, he's concerned about health care, you know, for people. He's concerned about inflation. He's concerned about the things that actually impact, you know, working class folks' day-to-day lives, not all this other ethereal stuff.
Josh, he's talking to the hardworking men and women of Alabama about their issues instead of talking about Islam and Muslims taking over Alabama. That ain't going to happen.
No. And, you know, it's, you know, first of all, I'd say probably the two biggest keys, you know, to voting for Doug Jones is that he knows the three branches of government and he lives in the state. But, you know, I would also say that, yeah, you're right. I mean, I get that people have divided this up into a team sport and Democrats are evil and awful and you can't vote for a Democrat just because they're a Democrat. At the same time, you're losing your farm. You know, based on the policies of the people who are currently in place, based on all the people who've been backed by the Farmers Federation and endorsed by the Farmers Federation. Those are the same people that are pulling for the tariffs that have forced off, I know, the $12 billion handout that we're about to talk about later. But, you know, these are the things that have happened. These are the choices that you've made based on this party affiliation nonsense, instead of going out and listening to the policies and ideas of the people who are actually on the ballot and saying, hey, maybe this might better serve me and my family. Maybe this might keep us out of the poorhouse. Maybe this might keep, you know, one single medical bill from bankrupting us or costing us our entire life savings or sending our kids into debt forever. You know, these are the sorts of things I would just ask people to listen. I'm not telling you who to vote. I'm not telling you to go vote for Doug. I'm just saying, listen to what the man has to say and see if it might work better for you and your family.
You know, I had a guy email me the other day, and he was just being a smart aleck. You know, really wasn't a serious person. But he talked about how this show was about hating Republicans and transgenderism, whatever that is. But I voted for Republicans, good Republicans, public Republicans that cared about good government, and that were serious about policy. Alabama's got to get serious about policy instead of all these culture wars and all those types of things that drive voters but they also drive people to poverty and will not let people rise up. And what Jones is talking about is a centrist government that is about serving the people and not the special interest.
Exactly. And that's what we need right now. Like you said, it's policy. We've got a lot of things coming down the pike. We've got Medicaid cuts. We've got SNAP benefits. We've got this whole ACA thing that's going through the Congress right now. You know, we've got a lot of problems coming up, and somebody's got to be there to guide the ship to handle this.
And wages, real wages, are not keeping up with real inflation. Now, I know our president would give the economy a 5 A plus rating, but that's not the reality on the ground. And Josh, you just brought this up. The people of the United States of America, taxpayers like us, we're going to have to bail out farmers to the tune of $12 billion because of Trump's tariffs. They're killing farms across the country. So now we got to pick up 12 billion on top of the 28 billion, Josh, we had to pick up the last time he was in office.
Yeah.
I'm tired of paying for your mistakes, Mr. President.
Yeah, listen, it's just bad policy, and that's all there is to it. I mean, we there's no reason to get into the personal stuff and all the other things. It's just simply, that's what I'm asking people. Just look at the policy and what's actually affecting people and how it's working for everybody. How it worked in the first Trump administration. Look at what actually affects you. I mean, let's take Obamacare for example. Obamacare, the prices are continuing to climb in Obamacare, yet that program has saved Americans over $700 billion on average because the prices previous to Obamacare under our previous system were rising at such an increased clip. So that thing has actually saved us money, but what would save us even more money is Medicare for all, and so that is a policy change that Democrats have supported and that people opposed to Trump have supported. And they have told him repeatedly that these tariffs and these other ideas that he has, they're not helping people. I mean, in the big, beautiful bill, we have cut subsidies that would have saved people, the working class folks, millions and millions and millions of dollars in order to give tax breaks such as, this is one of the tax breaks that's in there, allowing rich people to write off the full cost of their private jet. All right, it's in the bill.
Yeah, and Susan, the president promised, one of his promises was that he wanted to do away with tax on overtime, which was an idea that came out of Anthony Daniels' mind, right? And they adopted it here. And then after a year, they went, oh, no, we can't afford that anymore because what? It's costing us money? No.
Yeah, and the way they tried to do it at the federal level was a backwards way that really didn't cut your taxes on overtime, like the way we done it in the state, the way Anthony's policy did, the way we cut it out here and gave people essentially a 5% raise for turning in more hours at work. The hardest working people in this state, we rewarded them for that, and then the Republicans took it away so they could give basically a tax break to rich people to send their kids to private schools.
Yep. And this is not about. It is not about one party or the other. It's about the policy.
Yes.
It's about the policy. If the policy of that party is hurting you, you might want to think about it. Anyway, you're watching The V. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Josh, I think it was about 6 o'clock in the morning the other day. You sent me a post that Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth had put out, in which he said, I'm hearing that the Senate race is wide open. Now, I don't know how you interpreted that, or I sent it to Susan. I don't know how she interpreted that. But I don't think that Will Ainsworth gets up in the morning and tweets out something like that if he doesn't have an agenda. What do you say, Josh?
Well, first of all, I don't know what in the hell I was doing up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I don't either.
No, actually I do. I was getting a 7-year-old ready for school. Yeah, no, you're right. I think that he's putting the feelers out. And I think that some people have encouraged him. We heard this way back, when he was kicking around the idea of whether or not to run for governor or whether to run for Senate. Some folks had tried to encourage him to run for the U.S. Senate seat that's going to be vacated by Tommy Tuberville. And so, I think that's something that he's looking at. He's now, the reality has set in. We are about to come upon, where everybody's got to get qualified, either qualified or not. And once that door closes, he's out for, however many years, 4 years, more than likely. And he's out of public service for 4 years if he doesn't stick a foot in that door somewhere. And so I think that is something that's weighing on him. And, I think he's somebody that a lot of people would like to see in that seat.
Well, Susan, if you think about it, Barry Moore and Steve Marshall are two, in certain circles, two of the most unpopular politicians. I would say that Moore is actually more popular than Steve Marshall.
Oh, absolutely.
Steve Marshall is an opportunist and in my book, just a shady character. Mm-hmm. But the business community and Washington community is looking for a more steady hand. Now, Moore has made some strides in that area, but he used to be such a bomb thrower that they really don't want another Senate bomb thrower. Mm-hmm. They want somebody that's more like Katie Britt, who is a steady hand. And look, I like Will Ainsworth. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good conservative. I don't dislike Barry Moore at all. They're just different kinds of conservatives. Mm-hmm. And I think if Will gets in, he's going to get a lot of support.
Well, the thing with Will that people need to understand, and Josh was talking about, him not being able not to run, it's because he has a passion for helping people. He has a passion for public service.
He does.
Like no one I've ever seen.
Well, as the old saying goes, running for office like sex. Most people can't do it just once, Josh. Yeah.
But he does have a passion for it. He does. He wants to help people.
I just had to throw that dirty joke.
I think this would be a good move for him. I think this is somewhere where he could actually get some things done. I think his idea of conservatism is more toward the middle. It's not on the extremes necessarily. Yeah. You do get that with Barry Moore sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that. With Will, the thing, obviously he and I disagree, and on several matters.
He's probably happy you just said that.
I mean, that's absolutely something he'll probably put in a commercial somewhere. But listen, it's you can at least talk to Will, and that's the thing that I've always liked about him in whatever role that he's been in. If you say something about something that he's done or said, he calls you. And you have a conversation, and you don't come to an agreement necessarily on it, but you understand better why he thinks the way he does, and he understands better why I think the way that I do about that particular topic. And that's what you want out of somebody that's serving your government. You want them to at least listen to the other side and the other ideas. And I think what we need in that seat is somebody who is like Katie, or like, honestly, I would love to have another Richard Shelby there, and I was really hoping that she would be, and that that we could have somebody that focused, that stayed out of the stupid culture wars and political fray, and didn't get bogged down in that nonsense, and worked for the people of this state, no matter if I agreed with them politically on certain things or not. But they brought the money back home and just stayed above the fray, and was this stoic kind of individual that people respected from this state. That's what I want again.
Well, and I think that's, being a younger generation, I think that's important. But I also think he is a sober-minded individual. Mm-hmm. And we in politics have so many people with disordered minds who get up there and their minds are disordered because they're ruled by their passions. And this is what we see today, people who are ruled by their passion rather than reason and understanding. But I want to move on here, and just real quickly, faith leaders from around the state of Alabama have been basically begging for the Congress to do something about the rising healthcare costs. They are not going to do anything about it. And, because of these tax breaks that Josh has been talking about, they have to cut somewhere. So let's cut on the working people.
Yeah, some 87 pastors and community leaders across the state have come together and said, listen, we've got 500,000 people in the state of Alabama on this ACA healthcare plan that this is going to hurt. We got 130,000. They're going to lose their coverage altogether. We've got to do something. They're coming and they're begging our leaders to actually get in and do something about this healthcare. Because this is going to, like I said, we got stuff coming down the pike. We got to get busy about policy here.
Josh, we only got about 30 seconds, but they're not going to do it, are they?
No, they're not. They're not going to do anything about it. We know they're not going to do anything about it. Well, unless you go out and you vote for Democrats, and then something will get done about it. You vote for enough Democrats, then what they'll do is they'll eventually install Medicare for all and give you a baseline health care plan that we pay for through our taxes, and then you can just stop receiving insurance bills altogether. Unless you want a private plan, in which case a private plan could help you out, and pay for some other things, some other services. But you could have a baseline healthcare plan that we pay for out of taxes, and we charge the richest folks the most for it, and then we pull it on down the line, and like they do in every other civilized country in the world where they have better results.
Exactly, and that was a Republican idea some 60 years ago. All right, you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Alabama has one of the highest infant mortality rates in the country, actually in the world. And we do not offer good prenatal care. We have what's called, Susan, maternity deserts, and women are suffering because a pro-life state is not really pro-life about the birth of a child, and somebody's trying to do something about it.
Alabama is only pro-life up until the child crowns. Once the child crowns, you're on your own. I mean, that's basically the attitude of the state of Alabama, to the point that 34%. That March of Dimes did a study showing that there's 34% of the counties in Alabama are what they call maternal health care deserts. Now, we've got the rural hospitals that have closed, which, limits the care or the reach of any kind of hospital care. We have transportation problems getting to prenatal care and all that. Some organizations now have come together, such as the National Institute for Reproductive Health, Birth, and Justice Policy Lab, and brought an initiative together with several of the organizations in Alabama regarding maternal care. To educate more midwives, encourage midwifery, which includes not only the birth of the child, but the prenatal care and the postnatal care. We average over 400 children a year in Alabama that die before they turn a year old.
Yeah.
We've got to do something.
And Josh, this is primarily aimed at Black women, minority, because they suffer more under this lack of care. And so this is to me, a heroic effort to save children's lives and the lives of mothers, where the state has failed to do that job very well.
Yeah, it is. It is a heroic effort. It's a shame, and I think the one thing that we should point out is almost all of these children who die before the age of 1 could be saved through some pretty basic things, and some basic education, and a lot of the problems that we see could also be helped through better sex education that we for our children in high schools, and it is. Again, we had on our podcast this week, we had Beth Shelburne on who talks about Alabama prisons and stuff. And I mentioned her, it costs as much to have bad prisons as it does to have good prisons. And we don't put the resources into these things that we need to do all the time. And we act as though it's a complete mystery when other states, neighboring states, are doing this much better than we are. So why don't we just look at what they're doing and say, hey, let's copy that. Let's copy that and let's do this better.
Let's break that down. Actually, they're making an effort to do something where Alabama is doing nothing.
Well, and the thing is, it's just like a family budget. If you look at a family's budget, it shows you what is important and what they care about. Now, again, a state budget is the same way. A national budget is the same way. You whatever is your priority, it shows what you care about. And they do not give a damn about these Black women or poor women.
Or children.
They stand up there and they yak about being so darn pro-life when they don't give a dang about the mother's life.
They don't care about the children's life. Don't tell me you're pro-life when you let children go through food insecurity, when you don't provide them health care, when you don't provide them the things that they need to thrive, when you don't provide the food for the mother who's carrying the child, and then think there's actually going to be a healthy birth.
It's just a con job, but that's my opinion. It's just if you don't care for them after they're born, like Jesus told you to, you don't care about them.
Pick up your Bible and actually read it.
Josh, save us from ourselves.
No, I can't save you from this because you sound like me. I mean, honestly, and I like it. I like where this is going.
Well,
it's just the truth.
It's a shame that in a country as rich as ours, and Alabama has plenty of money for the things they want to do. I want to talk about one last thing before we get out of here, and that is one of the most sensible bills I've ever heard of. Representative Chris England has filed a bill that would let the people of Alabama vote, Josh, on whether to keep the death penalty or not. Our Attorney General just went before the Supreme Court and argued a ludicrous case about the IQ of a man who clearly can't understand why he's going to be put to death. But anyway, that's another subject. Let the
Yeah,
people
they were literally arguing before the Supreme Court to kill a mentally handicapped individual.
Yeah,
But because we're not killing people fast enough here, apparently, as we've just discussed with all the maternal deaths. And and so. Yeah, but Chris's bill is another fantastic Democrat bill that would allow us to vote. I'm a little scared of what the results would be. Honestly, I got to say I'm a little worried about what the results would be. But I think if people waited upon the costs that we incur and the inhumane treatment that we have for people, that maybe for once, that spirit of compassion that we love to talk about would shine through.
Yeah.
Listen, we've had so many botched executions lately, and with this nitrogen hypoxia, where you are smothering a person to death.
Yeah.
You are smothering them. You are, regardless of what you're pumping in their lung, you are depriving them of oxygen. Now, I'm like Josh. I'm a little afraid of where this is going to go, and because it is going to be a CA, which would be a constitutional amendment, it's going to stick a lot harder. It's going to be harder to reverse, but the people need to speak and say what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always for, always for. I mean, not, but listen. Here's my point. We know that we've executed people who were innocent. Mm-hmm. We know this for a fact. Heck, we just executed a guy who's they proved basically that he didn't do it.
With the family of the victim begging them not to execute him.
But let me ask you a question, my Christian friends. If there's sins of omission and sins of commission, if you, in the name of the state, the state, in your name, put someone to death who's innocent, isn't that kind of a sin of commission? But hey, that's just me. Somebody pick it up.
I believe it is. It is in my book. The way my beliefs work, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and listen, you cannot hold the moral high ground by saying, "Well, look what this person did." Are you talking about the criminal that you're trying to put? That you're not holding the state and ourselves to a higher standard of treatment of others as a common criminal. You don't hold yourself to a little bit higher of a standard than someone who's on death row. It always befuddles me when we get into this conversation. I mean, I'm not, there have been times where I've wanted that retribution for somebody. I get that, but that's a personal thing. That's not something that's necessarily helping this state and helping us to deter crime and do things a better way.
It's not saving us money either, because it's $34 a day, because we have the crappiest prisons in the country to house a person in jail, and there's not that many on death row. So don't give me that excuse either.
Well, we're going to have to get out of here because we've taken a little bit longer than we should have. But again, I like things that are left up to the voters. And if people would get out and vote, we'd have better results. Anyway, you've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You can now catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, anywhere you get your podcast or your feeds from. Watch us. We need you. You watch us because we watch them.